Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Eddie Marcus here again, spokesman and advocate for basic human rights for all people. My reason for coming before you today is because I want to say to you that I am going to change America and the world with or without your support. I say this to you, ladies and gentlemen, because today we are in a crisis situation. We are under attack as human beings of goodwill. And it is time that the spirit of love rise up to the occasion. When I look at the planet Earth, especially here in America, I see it as a stage. And I see we the people are playing a role on that stage. And I remember back in my early life when I was a child, out of all the heroes I saw, whether it was the Lone Ranger, Tonto, whether it was the Hulk, Batman, whether it was Thor, there's one that reigned supreme above all those to me. And that was Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ was the kind of guy that was spoken of that represents the spirit that guides my life. We are in a crisis situation, I say again, because on the stage right now we have a representative who is representing the Antichrist. It's representing Satan. And all of you know that he has his angels. They call themselves superior to everyone else. They call themselves owners of the streets. They call themselves the special ones. They have no power to stop the wildfires. They have no power to stop the storms. But nevertheless, they claim to have the power to stop you. I say it's time for that to end. The fact that Donald Trump, ladies and gentlemen, is that representative is no mystery to those who are aware. Donald Trump did not walk into the White House. Donald Trump was put into the White House. All of the things that Donald Trump has done, not showing his taxes, suing, lying to the public, getting away with it, all a part of the design. He has been riding the wave. And so has Miss Clinton. Neither of these representatives for government, Republican and Democrat, had anything truly to offer the goodwill of the people of this nation. But both of them rode the tides. And no one else got any recognition whatsoever. That is because the powers that be designed it this way. It was designed this way because all of the powers behind that system had done everything it possibly could to indoctrinate you, the American people. And it was time to see if they had a success. And so when these two individuals running for president of the United States were able to stay there, and regardless of what was said about them, you the people didn't look for anything else. And those who said, let me try, or let's do something, you turn your back on them. And so the only thing you had left was what was called evil. You thought that the one that you supported was lesser evil than the other. But in any event, whoever came through that storm would be recognized as evil. Now the indication is that Donald Trump represented the greatest evil. And that is why though Miss Clinton got more votes, she was still denied by the Electoral College, who, in effect, were operating at the behest of the powers that are unseen. And so we have in the White House the representation of Satan. And everything that he has done since he's been in office has been to represent evil, to represent ugliness. And the only people who have loved it is his base. Those who prayed for him, those who bend down to him, and those who are demanding that he really suffers the people, and they are at his disposal. Ladies and gentlemen, many of you don't know, but I ran for president of the United States several times on the same platform that I speak to you about every day. But you, the people, for one reason or another, could not see the worthiness of that which I spoke of. You were either cut down by my color or cut down by the fact that I had no money. And so as a consequence, you have ridden, what do they call it? The tide, that when the wave comes up, there's an undertow. So you've been riding that undertow, going back out in the middle of the deep. And that's where we are at today. But I find a spirit that will not allow me to just sit back and do nothing, because I am real. You see, I know that there is a God, and God is not a man. God is a spirit. God is not a man. God is a spirit. The reason that you who study the Bible call God a man is because whoever had authority over the organization of the Bible made it so. In fact, what they did is they created God in their own image. And though those words say that the Son of God, Jesus, had hair like the wool of a sheep, they put a picture in there that represented them and not that. Oh, I might look like Jesus a little bit. I got woolly hair. They also said he had eyes of fire. I was sitting in my computer during the election, and right out of the background, right across the front, a message came out, and it said, Jesus is a black man, and he smokes weed. I took that to mean me, but I didn't see that as the Spirit of God sending that message. I saw that as the power that be sending that message, because that power knows that God is real, and that God is not a man, and that God is a spirit. That power knows that what I have spoken of in relationship to God has been absolutely true. And I just assumed that they were sending that message across the web to get me to stand up and run for president at that time. Had I done so, they would have given me the same support they gave Donald Trump and Ms. Clinton. Because they know that if I was able to reach you under the banner of God, under the banner of love, then I would have done them a great, great awakening. Because they would have had you right where it really hurts. But I chose not to do that. But why did I think that that was me? I accepted that because I know what I have wanted for the American people. Jesus was my hero. And in my understanding, whether it is real or fake, Jesus was an instrument of love. He was a compassionate one who cared about all people, who felt the pain of those who were suffering, the joy of those who were excited. So do I. But I found myself not able to take that stand because I couldn't accept it. What I needed to happen was for the devil to get on the throne in America so that you could see what the devil is like. And I'm sure you can see what the devil is like. But the devil has a power that you who don't know the truth yield to. Those who you have elected as senators and representatives in office in D.C. are not representing you. They are under the authority of Satan. They are all afraid. And why are they afraid? Because there's a secret that they have to hide. And they don't want to be exposed. And the devil has accumulated that information on them and threatened to use it if they decide to stand up. Not only that, they are counting on the devil's way for their future. Having no understanding of God as being a spirit, they turn to what they see God as, a man. And they want to stick to that. But ladies and gentlemen, when I go to the Goodwill and I see all of the junk that's stacked up in a Goodwill that has price tags on it for poor people to come by and buy, under the pretext that they're giving people a job. Those are the same raggedy stuff that they send overseas to nations that are much poorer than ours and say this is a gift from God. This is what they do. I know of it because as a child growing up in the southern state of Mississippi, picking cotton, chopping cotton, and experiencing all of the poverty that people across the world experience, people in the northern states would send that junk down to us. And we thought it was something special just to get a piece of something that was different than the something that we had. I knew that there was a day that was going to come, the day that was going to change it. I hoped for it and I prayed for it. It seemed during my youth that no one else would rise to that occasion. I never thought it would be me. But I did see one man who represented Christ, who represented God, who represented love. His name was Dr. Martin Luther King. He didn't just stand up. He was pushed forward by the commitment of Rosa Parks, who said no more, who was willing to give her life to sit down on a seat that the powers that be said she better not. And she did. And by the power of righteousness, that spirit, unseen, unheard, untouchable, rose to the occasion and manifested itself in Dr. Martin Luther King. The reason that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is dead today is because the people, though he affected many, could not arise to the occasion that was necessary. So I stand here today, ladies and gentlemen, asking you, not everybody, I'm asking those of you of goodwill, regardless of your color and your gender, those of you who have compassion and love for your brother man, whether it's in America or anywhere in the earth, I'm speaking to you. It is time we rise up and be led by that spirit of love. It is time that we might crush that evil one. For those of you who don't know it, the power that made this earth supplied this earth with everything that we as humans would ever need to live our dreams. Whether those resources were in the earth, on the earth, or above the earth, seen or unseen. He equipped us mentally, spiritually, to be able to call upon ourselves to manifest the desire of creativity. And by indulging ourselves in a career of our own choosing, we would be able to meet the needs of every human being on the face of the earth when it comes to food and clothing, shelter and education and health care. That these careers would be met by you and I. And all we needed was an understanding of love, recognizing that through doing unto others as we'd have others to do unto us, and having it no other way. That's the only requirement. But that evil one, recognizing that all humans could have their desires by just being respectful of one another, decided to corrupt that by instituting something else in place of goodwill, instituting something else in place of you and I respecting ourselves, and in so doing respecting God, came over the idea of money. Money. And on that money, they wrote on it, in God we trust. It was not the spirit, but man that we were to trust. And now, all across the world, we have a piece of paper that each of us have to engage ourselves, and engage ourselves only if the power who created that piece of paper wanted us to, would allow us to, because they called it a privilege and not a right. And without it, the system would be set up that we would have no food, no clothing, no shelter, no education, no health care, unless we had a job. And we were not going to get a job unless they approved of us and our way. Football players have a job, but now the devil has told them they don't like what they're doing. We are representing goodness. They can't go for that. So in order for you to keep that job, to have that money, to live that dream that you have, you must forget that spirit and bow down to the devil and his money. I propose to you, ladies and gentlemen, that that piece of paper that they use as money to control and manipulate the human race is discarded, put in a fire and burned up. Put it over there in California. Let it get burned up in the wildfires. I propose, ladies and gentlemen, that anything that we consider as valuable in terms of being able to purchase a good or service that is a human right, we discard it. I say to you, ladies and gentlemen, it is time the devil be made straight. And I, as an instrument, who just the other day did a presentation and submitted it to the Facebook and YouTube, that human beings ain't shit. I had to do that before I was able to stand before you and look you in the eye and say, those of you who know God as a spirit, as love, rise to the occasion. You might be a preacher, though most of you aren't. You might be a member of a church, though most of you aren't. You might just be a bum. But whoever the spirit of love lives in, allow it to live. Allow it to empower you to rise up. And let's go forward and take care of the business that must be taken care of. This world is not about Satan. Satan is trying to steal it. The devil is trying to steal it. Its agents and represented powers are going along with it. House of Representatives, the Senate, all of those leaders who stood before you when they were running for office and told you how corrupted these politicians were who were seeking office for president. Every last one of them seems to be bowing down to this power. Today, there's not a man anywhere that is trying to offer a solution. I hear Sanders talking about some of the things that I've shared with you here, but Sanders lost his credibility when he stood aside for what he considered the lesser of evil. It doesn't make any difference, ladies and gentlemen, when you talk about lesser of evil. Evil is evil, and all evil needs to be a great evil is your support. So I stand before you today, ladies and gentlemen, saying that I am going to change the United States of America and the world with or without your support. Because all that you are not the spirit of love that is responsible for all existence. That is why I speak to you. That is why I come to you. That is why I give you an opportunity. That is why I give you a chance to rise up and be a part of life instead of part of death. And I hope that there's something in you that is being touched by the Spirit that comes out of my mouth that will say, yes, Lord, not to me, but to the power that lives inside of you, and enable you to do what must be done. You go to the dollar store. Things are made now for the poor people. Things that sometimes by walking out of the store it falls apart. But this is what the devil have for you. How many of you have ever dreamed in your early life that this is the life that you would have before you? Not a single one of you. Every last one of you had great dreams, great ambitions. You look forward to it. You look forward to flying cars. You look forward to going to the moon anytime you get ready. You look forward to grand things. Now you have to fight for a job. Now you have to fight to keep minimum wage up. You have to fight to keep from being killed by your public servants. You have to fight for everything. But you have an opportunity to create a difference, to make a difference. And I don't trick you, ladies and gentlemen. Everything that I speak to you of, you play a hand in it. Not the politicians. You play a hand in it. You make sure that everybody is able to have housing, food, and clothing. You make sure that everybody have access to education that leads them out of ignorance, not indoctrinate them to stay in it. You make sure that everybody have health care from the womb to the tomb. You make sure that no one, with however your big dream is, however your big deceptive idea is, would come in here as a cancer and destroy what God, the Spirit, has designed. Now, I don't know what you're going to do. I know what I'm going to do. And I'm going to commit myself to you, ladies and gentlemen, because this is God's voice. This is God's spirit of love speaking to you. And how many will come and say yes to the spirit of love? You might not, but I can tell you this. What you have seen going on with the fires, that's not me. When you see what's going on with the hurricanes and storms, that's not me. But it is having its effect nonetheless. And it doesn't matter whether you're rich or poor. You're losing basically everything. And when that time comes, there's not enough money in the bank. There's not enough money that can be made that will give you the opportunity to rebuild all these things in your lifetime. So it is time we get ahead of the winds. It is time we get ahead of the storms. And by the power of the Almighty Spirit of love, we take care of this. We look at Donald Trump and say no more. And mean it. Why is he still in office? That had been Barack Obama, if they didn't remove him out of office, he would have been killed. But Donald Trump walks around making a fool out of white power. And why does he make a fool out of white power? Because Donald Trump knew who they were all along. He knew they were faking it all along. And when they were tested by standing up and saying, get the hell out of my way, what are they doing? Getting the hell out of the devil's way. But not only that, they're empowering him, making different rules that are the Constitution supposedly was to protect the people from. Now they are willing to rewrite those rules to honor evil, to honor Satan, to honor those who says, we own these streets, blood and mud. We own these streets. That's enough to make a baby cry for death. So I say to you, ladies and gentlemen, the choice is yours. We can continue on down this path if we so desire. But one thing I can say to you, I am going to change the world with or without your support. Because God doesn't need your support as man does. The God Spirit is able to do it on his own. If that God Spirit was able to cause Rosa Parks to stay seated, if that Spirit was able to empower Martin Luther King and all of those other sisters and brothers of love to do and accomplish what they did, that Spirit is not dead. And though we may all leave here, none of us left, that Spirit will still be here with the ability to create a new world in our absence. And so I say to you one last time, think on these things. Think on these things. And as soon as you have thought, if your conclusion is that you want to do something about it, whether you're a lawyer, a teacher, an engineer, a ditch digger, whatever role you have in the creative process of this new world that we are about to endeavor ourselves in creating, know that what you want, your dreams, will be met. Because we as people will work together to guarantee that it is. And no devil and no angel of the devil will be able to deny this. By the power of the Almighty Spirit, unseen and unseen, unseen and unheard and untouchable, I proclaim it here in our midst now. Thank you so very much for listening. Bye-bye.